Hi guys, and welcome to the Lowland League catch-up. It's myself, Rampant FM, and I'm joined by the stranger, Mozza. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How's you?
Yeah, good. Long time no speak, obviously. Been a few weeks. How are you doing? Everything good? Enjoy your honeymoon?
Aye, it was cracking, mate. Absolutely cracking. Just a shame that I had no voice when I got back, but we're back in the swing of things now, thankfully.
So did you get a dodgy January tan?
Have you seen how white I am, mate? I don't tan.
Oh, I don't tan either, mate.
Factor 50 just to make sure I didn't go red. That's the name of the game.
So I asked you before the pod, you've been keeping up with the Lowland League and whatnot, haven't you?
I certainly have. Yeah. So don't worry, I'm fully up to speed, especially with the title race as well. I've got a slight vested interest in there. But not looking forward to getting back into the chat about it.
Yeah, brilliant. We'll start with the only game that was on last week, Mozza, due to the weather. We did have weather issues this week, but we'll talk about after this game. But Edisport versus BSC Glasgow ended 2-2. Andy Dowie on his debut got a low ball to Ross McNeil on loan from East Kilbride, who simply tapped in to open the scoring only 6 minutes in. BSC Tamor hit the post in the 21st minute. The equaliser came when Declan Hughes put forward a fantastic ball that landed at the feet of Martin Grehan, whose first shot was initially saved, but he was there to put in the rebound. So 1-1 at half-time. 60 minutes played, a terrific cross into the box found at the head of Jean-Guy Lucas, who gave Edisport their lead again. 50 minutes to go, Edisport went for a third, only for the flag to go up. The resulting profane scream, as described by Martin Fleming from Ross McNeil, was deemed unacceptable by the referee, who showed him a red card. And vice-captain Ross Smith hit a fantastic strike in injury time to get a consolation point in an otherwise poor game. From what I heard, obviously there was a weather factor in that as well, so I think that kind of affected the performance, but really BSC salvaged a point out of that one.
Well, first and foremost, I think from the reaction of people that have been there, Edgesport were well worth at least a point and maybe even three. So I think we do need to give credit to them to get the thing started, because they didn't actually play this week, so it's important we do give them a shout out for the performance they put in. I did notice that the East Kilbride News were almost trying to give EK the credit for it, giving Ross McNeil to derail BSC's title challenge, which I thought was quite funny. But it seems as if it was a proper battle, not just between the teams but against the elements, and ultimately a point each was a fair result, although Academy might be a wee bit upset they didn't get all three.
Definitely. Thoughts on the sending off for swearing? I know you might agree with the ref here because of the BSC, but
well, not to be honest with you, I don't think I do.
No,
I think obviously there's a lot of chat generally in Scottish football just now about refereeing and standards and so on. If you sent off guys for swearing every week, you'd end up with 5 asides.
Yep.
So you either need to get it drilled in at the very start of the season that every game has the same rules. You're going to get sent off if you're going to do it, and everyone knows their place. Or we just need consistency with it. Simple as that. So, don't get me wrong, it sounds like he had a fair 1 or 2 swearies in it for the outburst, but there's a rhyme and reason to it. So if he's had a go directly at the ref or the assistants, you can understand it. But if he's just kind of expressing upset about it, which is what I've been told happened, it's I don't know. I don't like guys getting sent off just for a kind of.
It's just a reaction, really.
Especially when it affects the game the way it goes. But it's different if it's a terrible tackle or so on. But it's one of these things that, as long as they're consistent with it, fine. But let everyone know at the start of the season and apply the laws and the rules across the board the same way, so that we know where we stand.
Definitely agree. I mean, it's a hard one for referees because I can see it from their point of view, because they obviously treat it as a job, and if someone was swearing at you at your job, and that would be kind of deemed unacceptable.
Aye.
But having said that, all the games I've been to, and I've been to a few this season, I mean, I've heard players at refs and sometimes even refs at players, and it's, I don't know, it's a bit, to me it's a man's game sort of thing, eh? It's like, swearing, getting sent off for swearing's a wee bit like, I don't know how to express that. It's I don't know, a bit harsh, I would say, on Ross McNeil, and obviously Edisport wouldn't have been happy, as we saw on their Twitter. They weren't happy with it, and it's true. I think if people were to get sent off for swearing, then they'd 5-a-side maybe, games abandoned and whatnot. Eh?
But I think the universal reaction to it from the clubs and the players that have made a comment, if I remember rightly, Sean Winter made a wee kind of point towards it as well, is you just can't send guys off for swearing generally. It's different if it's directed at somebody as essentially a verbal assault, but it's one of these things. All we need is consistency and to know exactly where we stand with it, and then there's not a leg to stand on if you go and break the rules.
Definitely agreed. And just in terms of Edisport, obviously they've changed, made a lot of changes. Ross McNeil seems like a really good capture. I think he's only on loan just to get his fitness up for the next few games. Andy Dowie seems like a really, really good signing. Really adds experience into the centre defence, where I think they've been lacking a wee bit. And Ryan Finney will obviously do another job for them as well. So they seem to be building already to get a high finish, hopefully this season, or as high as possible, and then maybe for next season as well. So when I saw them against Kelty, mate, they were playing a wee bit too high. Okay. John Gay Lucas, for me, he's not a defender really. He's always up in the sort of midfield area. I think they were caught out by that, but someone the likes of Andy Dowie, I think can maybe sort of keep the line a wee bit better than what's been happening, basically, and maybe keep it at a decent length rather than maybe too high or too low or something, because he's got the experience of knowing exactly where it should be, sort of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's something they've done in the past as well. Like they brought Ryan McCann in and the likes of Bryn Halliwell and so on last season, and they were still around at the start of this season as well, if I remember rightly. So it's a kind of like they're following this essentially slightly tweaked plan now, that it's not just the students are getting supplemented with homegrown talent and mixing together, and it seems to be working just now. I think you're right what you're saying there, though, that they're basically looking ahead to next season and building for it, because knowing Chris in the way he is, and they've got that project, the long-term project in mind, they want to be in the leagues the next couple of years. So he's the kind of guy who will be thinking ahead a year or two and putting things in place to give them the best possible chance to get there.
We'll get into this weekend's game, and we'll start with BSC Glasgow, obviously. At Broadwood, which change of home for them, but they played Gala Ferradine Rovers and they won 1-0. There wasn't really too much to talking about. As I mentioned, the wind might have played a factor in a lot of these fixtures from what I heard. I think they were pretty much cancelling each other out, and it was only after the hour mark that Tam Orr slots a beautiful wee strike under Paddy Martin to make it 1-0. Hectic last sort of 15 minutes, penalty BSC, a beautiful reverse from Davy Winters plays in Sean Struthers, who is brought down by Rhys Donaldson, who gets sent off for the post with the resulting penalty. And then 2 minutes from time, penalty to Gala for handball, and Robbie McNabb gets a second yellow for his reaction, so both sides are down to 10 men. And just to end the game, Darren Smith fires Gala's penalty wide. What a ending to that game, absolutely crazy. But BSC, 16 games unbeaten in the league. Fantastic effort from BSC, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what we've been talking about up to this point, that I think it has gone under the radar slightly, the job that Swifty's done, Stephen Swift, this season, because of the tough start and because of injuries at the start. If you look at the record in the last 16 games, they're neck and neck, East Kilbride and BSC. So to turn that around from, bear in mind, we were talking early doors about BSC sitting kind of 7th, 8th in the table after a few games, and are they as good as people thought they were going to be? They've proven it since. And obviously it's not just the manager, the players get a ton of credit for it as well, like Tamor coming through and really making a pitch to kind of be known as the best striker in the league, that kind of thing. But I know you mentioned about the elements of wind and so on. I don't think we need to explain how cold Broadwood is to anyone that's listening to this podcast. So, it's Ice Station Zero at the best of times, and I'm just happy all the 22 players got off without any hypothermia, to be honest. But some finish as well. I'd love to know if there's ever been another game at this level where there's been 2 penalties that have both missed the target in that way. Like, it's just so unusual the way it kind of broke down. But ultimately, again, a really nip and tuck game. Second on in 2 weeks for BSC, but this time they managed to get the 3 points in the bag, and slightly fortunate to do so, given that Dan Smith missed that penalty right at the death.
It's I think from all accounts, I think Gala were pretty unlucky as well. The one thing they've been missing this season is consistency, but I think they'll feel they should have maybe at least got a point out of that. But yeah, as you say, I think it's been a pretty tough game. I think BSC picked up a lot of yellow cards towards the end, so they were maybe just hanging on there. But Gala certainly will feel they should have maybe got something out of the game, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next week when they're back at Netherdale as well. We'll obviously get into the games at the weekends as well, but should be. It's a fantastic record with Swifty and BSC. I think if you actually look at the top 3, and you could probably include Spartans in that, East Kilbride's only lost once, Kelty's lost twice, BSC's lost twice, and Spartans have lost 3 times. That general record, not including the draws that Spartans had, but that's kind of like any other sort of league. That's kind of like all sort of top of the table form, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. It just shows you how strong the top of the league is this season.
Civil Service have lost 5, but they've not had lots of draws, whereas Spartans is kind of opposite. They've not lost many, but they've drew probably more than they would have in previous seasons. So
yeah, and we'll no doubt get into this when we get into the Spartans chat later on. But the reason they won the league last season was because so many times when they were set to draw a game, in the last 5 minutes somebody pitched up and got the winner, and they were relentless doing it. That's just not happened the same way this season. Because if it did, they'd be right up there.
Definitely. And speaking of Civil Service Strollers, fantastic performance against Edinburgh University, 1-5-0 at Christie Gillis Park. Ross Guthrie fires Civil ahead after getting on the end of a slack clearance. Civil's Strollers lead was extended. Great work from David Churchill. Andrew Mayer scores from a corner to make it 3-0, and David Churchill got his goal. He slots the ball low into the net, and Kerr Allen on his debut, a goal scoring start with a low shot nestled in the net to make it 5-0. And a bit of a before we get into Edinburgh Uni, obviously it seems a massive feel good factor about the Strollers at the moment. All the players seem to be in really good spirits. Fighting for top 4. They've been undefeated since early November, and another fantastic win for them.
Absolutely, mate. And I feel like you're kind of setting me up here because we've just talked about how good a job Swifty's done. I think the man that surpasses him and is, well, at this point, my manager of the year in this league is Gary Jordan, because what he's done with Strollers this year, you've talked about the feel good factor. He's built a cracking squad for this level, and obviously knows the league, having been here and won it before with Edinburgh City. But you can't say anything bad about their like the way they play. Even is attractive to watch. They score goals, they're getting the results. We've mentioned they've only lost 5 games this season, and they're generally winning the rest. They're not drawn too many. They've been an absolute credit to themselves this season, and there's no reason why they can't step on again if Gary stays at the helm and get right into the chasing pack again next season.
Absolutely, mate. And I did make a deal with Kerr Allen if they were to beat Gallifreydine. Obviously, that game got postponed. That we would rename it for a week. The Strollers catch up or whatever. I don't know. He scored on his debut, so we might give him a wee bit of a shout out. Or
I'm sure we could get another wee bet going.
Yeah, certainly. And yeah, as I mentioned, a lot they're just by the nature of the way that they're going, like everywhere, as I said, it's really noticeable that they're one of the squads that does have this sort of mentality about it. Like they go into every game and expecting to get a result now, whereas they did have a bit of they kind of went a wee bit flat sort of earlier in the season, but it seems they've came out of it and they're 3 points away from Kelty, I think.
Yeah, and I think a flat spot's not unusual halfway through the season. So you can forgive that. That happens to a lot of teams. But the thing that kind of shows you like what they're made of is they've came back through it and they're right back in the swing of things again. And it didn't take too long for them to push through and get moving. On the flip side, I think it is important to mention, even though Edinburgh Uni have lost that game pretty heavily, overall, they're not in a great run now, but
no.
Dorian's done a fantastic job with them as well with the resources at his disposal. And they're still sitting pretty comfortable when you look at the table just now. I know Stirling have now just surpassed them, but realistically, start of the season, they would have seen their challenges getting above Stirling, and kind of that pride battle between the unis, as well as staying safe, and they're all but safe now. So it's job done as far as they're concerned as we move to the latter stages of the season. Agreed.
We'll get into East Stirlingshire versus Cumbernauld Colts. Shire won 3-1, and it was really just a spell in the first half that basically saw off the game again. The wind was a factor in this game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Ross Allam scoring. The Colts did come back 4 minutes later with Fraser's team. But 28 minutes played, Paul McCafferty finds Andy Rogers, who heads home to make it 3-1 Shire. And pretty much that was the game. I heard it was quite a really good game of football, despite the wind. Quite free-flowing, not much stoppages. Both teams sort of going about their business. But I have mentioned the last few weeks, Mozza, I don't know if you've been listening in, but I felt that Shire would go on a run and they would have a sort of strong finish to the league campaign. It looks like Dell has got the boys quite settled now. They've got Dalbeattie next week, which I'm sure we'll get into, but they've also, it could end what we probably thought was going to be a bit of a disappointing season for them, but it could end fairly decent and a really good foundation for next season, as well as still being in the South Challenge Cup as well.
Bang on, because just before I went away a few weeks ago, we made the point that basically they needed a couple of results and then there's no reason why they couldn't keep going with it, because they were picking up points and losing a game, and then it was up and down, basically. But they've obviously managed to get to the point now, as you've said, that they've settled down. Dell and Andy came in and it wasn't the easiest situation for them to pick up, being players then suddenly becoming kind of manager and assistant manager. So it's a change of role when you want the boys in the dressing room to get used to that pretty quick, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But fair play to them, because they've done it the right way. They've just worked away at it. I've seen a few people refer to the performance Andy Rogers put in, saying that he's been an absolute shining light and an example to the younger guys, because he's still covering every blade of grass. He's running his heart out. We know how passionate a guy he is. All you need to do is be standing at the side of the pitch listening to hear how passionate he is at the best of times. But no, absolutely fair play to them, because they're like you say, they've still got a chance of silverware in the cup as well. They're another one of these teams that are putting the blocks down for next season at this point. But they're looking to finish the campaign on a high, obviously.
Absolutely. And in terms of the Colts, I've often said that I still fancy them for top four. It's kind of disappearing a wee bit now. Which I'm gutted about, because I would have loved to have been right about that one. No, the Colts still a quality team, still in it for a high finish. I just think it's maybe sliding a wee bit away from them now, because Civil have obviously came up, and I think we had said pretty much our top three was going to be Kilby, BSC and Kelty, and it's going to be such a challenge for them to take on the likes of Civil and Spartans for top four. I think it's going to be very, very hard for them now, I think.
I think their focus now, like I say for the last few seasons, every campaign they've done really well up to a point and then fell away at the end of the season. So I think their concentration at the moment will go on basically ending that pattern, because the last thing you want to do is play up to it, and then the last few games of the season just kind of don't play out in the right manner and fall down the table. It's a matter of pride, if nothing else. So I'd expect them to just be kind of reaffirming that to the guys and saying, listen, we want to finish this campaign on a high as everyone else does, not just for the fact that it gives us a bit of momentum going into the next year, but kind of proves a few people wrong that have started saying that that's just the Colts. They start quick and they fall away. So it's I should say that's not my opinion. I've just heard other people say that opinion. But
I was about to say, I was like,
that's not
was that your opinion?
Guys, don't worry. But no, joking aside, I'm sure that's what they'll be focusing on, because it's less than 10 games left now. Finish it strongly, get some more points on the board, and get prepared for another campaign.
Absolutely. And yeah, you kind of touched on it earlier, but yeah, there is an order to these things for a reason. Similar to the Shire game, Kelty Hearts versus Gretna 2008. Kelty won 4-0. Again, a 15-minute spell was the difference. Gretna had an early penalty in the first few minutes. Shout out to Kyle, bad head knock, obviously accidental. He tried to stay on, but he was obviously concussed, and we obviously wish him the best in recovering there. Fair play for trying to stay on, but I think he was just dazed. I saw him after the game and he still looked a wee bit dazed, so hopefully he's going to be alright. All 4 Kelty goals from Stephen Husband's set plays, absolutely deadly. Pretty much on the half-hour mark, Brian Ritchie gets to the end of a Stephen Husband free kick. It was 2-0 a few minutes later. Gretna own goal. I think the last touch came off defender Jack Hunter. I think it was from a Kelty corner. And Murray Carstairs makes it 3 with a header from another Stephen Husband corner. And just before half-time, Carstairs makes it 4. Slots home from a deflected Stephen Husband free kick. 4 goals in 3 games and 3 consecutive clean sheets for Murray Carstairs. Fantastic effort from Murray. But just before I get your opinion on it, Mozza, we do have an interview with Barry Ferguson. So a bit of a hectic start of the day, Barry. Obviously, Gretna early penalty, and it looked like they had a bit of a spell, first 10-15 minutes. And then pretty much after the half hour, you sort of took the lead in the game. Kelty obviously sort of winning the game just before half time, 4-0. Yep. Fair assessment of the game?
Well, I wouldn't say as long as that. I'd say the first 5 minutes we were caught out with a couple of long throws. Obviously we get the penalty against us. We saved the penalty, but after the penalty, the boys got themselves together, and obviously we went on to dominate the rest of the first half and score 4 goals. Where I think even in the first half we could have had another 3 or 4. Second half, it's always difficult when you're on top of teams with a lot of possession. And again, I think in the second half we could have had 3 or 4 goals. It was the post and the bar. The keeper made a couple of good saves. But overall, listen, any game in this league's a tough league. That's 3 games now. 11 goals and none conceded. So we're in a good bit of form now, and there's obviously good competition for places. So no, overall, I'm happy with the 3 points. The performance, we've played a lot better, but at times some of our football was good.
Gala next week, happy to be back on the road again.
Yeah, that again, that'll be another difficult game. They're a good team with some good players, so expect a tough game. As I say, it's not just home games, away games as well are very difficult in this league. So we'll just go on the road and we'll do what we try and do every week, and that's get 3 points.
So that was me speaking to Barry Ferguson. We obviously want to thank Barry for speaking to us. What are your thoughts, Mozza?
Yeah, I think you've summed it up pretty well there, mate, to be honest. obviously Gretna had the chance very early doors to get a goal in front, and it kind of set the tone that the keeper made the save. From there it seemed to be all Kelty, which is kind of what we expected. They had a wee bit of a sticky spell. They've now got back into a bit of form again. Again, change of manager and so on, so obviously had an impact that they've changed the style of play and all that kind of thing. And Barry having other commitments in the middle of it.
Another reason why I linked it to Shire, because it's kind of like almost a similar situation. They seem to have both kind of had manager changes, but both now starting to find their feet. And I'm assuming going on to next season, I think both will be challenging again.
I think you're right to say that Kelty will have their eyes on going up. We know that already, having spoken to Ian earlier in the season, that they've got a grand plan in mind, and it didn't involve winning the league this year because they didn't expect it, but their performance shows you that they're on the right track for that. So even though they've had that wee sticky spell, they're right up there. They're going to be levelling points with BSC if they take care of the game in hand. And we're looking ahead to next season already, where a lot of these teams, I don't think Kelty will have given up in that league just yet. And I don't think BSC will have given up in the league either just yet, because anything can happen, ultimately. So I suspect if you spoke to the people behind the scenes in both clubs, they'll still be looking to win every single game out and hoping for a little bit of luck on the other side of things. And teams like Gretna coming in who are kind of in that middle ground where they're reasonably safe and they don't have too much left to kind of challenge for other than moving up the table. You might see a few more of these one-sided scorelines in the next weeks to come.
You know, I've kind of spoken. I spoke to you earlier about it, but for me, Kelty never really got out of second gear, and I don't think Gretna played that badly. It was just a strange one to say this because it was 4-0, but it was just Stephen Husband, really. He was the difference in the game. Like his set plays basically finished the game for Gretna. Gretna started off really well. They had a spell the opening few minutes, obviously, with even after the penalty was saved by Christie. I don't think Gretna were that bad, really. It was just the fact that 15 minutes of madness, really. It kind of broke them down, and the second half was kind of, well, you're 4-0 down, eh? It's kind of like you're not expecting to get back in the game, really, at 4-0 down, you know.
That seems to have been the story with Gretna this season, though. Like, I don't think they've really thrown in many stinkers at all in terms of performances, but when they've lost, they've lost.
Yeah. But then again, when they've won as well. So
exactly. So they're a good team to watch, obviously. But I think you're pretty bang on there that we shouldn't be kind of too down on them losing 4-0, because I think any team turning up, say from kind of 6th down the league, but probably felt the same thing. The way Kelty were going, and when they're on form with the set pieces like they were earlier on in the season, they're a tough unit to defend against.
Absolutely. So we'll get into University of Stirling versus Whitehill Welfare. Both teams struggling with wins, to be honest, in the league. I think it's fair to say this season. University of Stirling won 2-0. First 45, again a bit of nothing really much to talk about. Both teams cancelling each other out. A great run from Angus Mailer, and the ball eventually was forced in by Aidan Ferris to make it 1-0 Uni. 73rd minute, great strong play from Stirling. Ball in the net after another fine save from Paul Grant, but it was Blair Lyons that got the second for University of Stirling. Really good win for University of Stirling, as we mentioned, but they have had some struggles winning games this season. I spoke to David Chandler about this. They seem to only be the draw masters, if you will, really. And having seen them recently, University of Stirling are a very decent side. I was quite surprised. I think they've only won 5 games out of 20 or 21, which is a major surprise, but a good solid 2-0 win over Whitehill Welfare.
But this is a flip side of when we said earlier on, when your top 4 or 5 in the league are so strong and lose so little, this is what happens to teams that are generally mid-table and pushing up, that are used to winning more. Like, they're not going to have the same numbers there. And I did notice Chris putting the credit to the wee one on Twitter for it, because put the picture of the wee one up with the tactic sheet. That's
Yep.
he's saying they're unbeaten, but it was a big game for Whitehill. We keep saying it, and I've not picked up the points. So it's as good as our recent performances have been against the teams higher up the league. This is their bread and butter. If they're not going to get points here, they're basically relegated, as things stand, and they're now 3 games ahead of Dalbeattie, so they played 3 games more, and they're 5 points behind. So they're in a real danger zone now that is beginning to slip away from them. So they would, don't make any mistake about it, they would have looked at this University of Stirling game coming up and thought, there's a fixture there that we can target the 3 points on. Because when you look at who they've got coming up, Vale of Leithen are next up, and they are at home. They're at Ferguson Park for it.
Massive game.
That now becomes basically a cup final at this stage, because with a 5-point gap there, potentially more than that after those 3 games in hand are played by Star, you're looking after that. They're away to Kelty. We've just said how difficult that is. Away to Gretna, that could go either way. And then you've got teams like Gala and East Stirlingshire, who Edgesport, who are on decent form.
Yep.
So their window's closing, and they'll be really disappointed not to have picked anything up at the weekend there off a Chris Geddes and the guys. But fair play to them, because as you say, they play some cracking football. They're a really decent side to watch, and we'll see if that helps them pick up a few more towards the end of the season then.
I think for me, Whitehill, a big loss. Scott Lucas wasn't playing, and he's obviously their leader on the park. Kyle Mitchell's obviously moved on to Leaf Athletic in the east of Scotland. Yeah. But Scott Wright, obviously, he's been doing a job for them. I mean, it's not over really. I mean, Dalbeattie aren't in the greatest of form. It's possible that the thing is, when it's out of your hands, really, when you're depending on other teams dropping points, and you've only got I think 7 games to really save yourselves. It's you've got to really look at each other and say it's in our hands. But again, it's hard to get out. You know what I mean? They've as we talked about, BSC's run with winning, not losing games. You know, it's almost the same as, I think, 14 games that Whitehill have went without a win. So it's difficult. It really is difficult for them. But there is still a glimmer of hope. We say it every week, but it's not over till it's over.
There's absolutely hope there, because when you look at Stars games, they've pretty much got the same teams to play, with the addition of BSC twice, Spartans, and I'm just having a quick look. They've still got Kelty coming up, Civil Service Strollers, East Stirlingshire. So there's no reason why they couldn't do it, but you've got to take care of your own business first, and worry about Dalbeattie second. And without getting at least 2 wins on the board, welfare are going down at the moment.
Yep. Absolutely, mate. Vale of Leithen versus East Kilbride. Closer than I think a lot of people were expecting. East Kilbride won it 1-0, and they won it early. 16 minutes. Stevenson plays the ball down the line. Chris Humphrey latches on and beats the fullback to deliver a great ball to Craig Malcolm, who headers home. That man again, Craig Malcolm, he's been on fantastic goal scoring form as of late. From what I heard, again, another free-flowing game, which both teams went out to win. It was a great showing from Vale. Obviously, they've had a lot of postponements lately, and perhaps a few doubters as well. It has to be said. And from all accounts, I've heard that they really might even deserved a point in this game. From what I've heard from the players and some people that were at the game, great showing from Vale, really.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the stage now with Vale where, like, teams play East Kilbride every week now, and they're playing up to them, up to their standards, because they've got the target on their back. But Vale, the thing that's been lobbed at them recently is the defence, and kind of criticising how many goals they're conceding and so on. And the fact that they've hosted East Kilbride, albeit not in the best conditions, but they've only conceded 1 goal and it was reasonably early doors, and I've kept it tight ever since. And a free-flowing game as well, which you'd expect him to be a bit more open at the back. A huge amount of credit needs to go to Chris Anderson.
Yep, absolutely.
For the performance I put in, and they did have chances from the reports as well. So if they'd pulled off a draw there, we'd have been singing their praises to the heavens. So, like, we shouldn't be criticising them. Is what
Absolutely
I'm trying to say,
not.
just because of the absence of one goal that they could well have picked up. But on the flip side of that, you look at East Kilbride, they just keep motoring on. There's nothing seems to stand in their way just now. It's absolutely relentless. And from past seasons, especially Spartans last year, it's the former champions, and they're doing everything the right way. Malcolm leading the way up front. He's been a fantastic addition for them. He's just a leader, full stop.
Absolutely,
And they've got them all through the team. So I personally think that the league's pretty much theirs now. I suspect a lot of people will agree with that. There's been people saying for the last kind of month or so that they've already won the league. But they don't see that way, and that's why they're so good. Their mentality is just keep going until it's done and then look forward to the playoffs. And I think that makes them a really dangerous proposition, not just for the Highland League team, but then after that, when they get through, I should say if they get through, for the team that finishes bottom of League 2, because this might well be the last season that we cover East Kilbride for the foreseeable future.
You know, it's funny, Mozza. I think I'm sure it might have been Sean Winter, it might have been Barry Russell actually, but one of them, I think it was Sean Winter actually. But the difference, I think, between East Kilbride and other teams, maybe apart from Spartans, but they've been wanting out this league for years, and they have the experience and disappointment of almost getting to league football and just missing out. I think the mentality of the boys at East Kilbride this season were, this is our season basically, and I think that's the difference between the likes of them and perhaps some other teams that have never been at the summit basically. And 100% agreed. I think East Kilbride, it's theirs to lose if they do lose it, which I don't think they will. In fairness to Vale Leaving, they've lost a few decent players. We knew that their team was kind of stick thin, as it were. They've managed to keep hold of Sean Stewart, which is obviously good news for them. I don't know if he just had a change of heart or what went on, but Kerr Allen obviously moving to the Strollers, and from what I think anyway, I think David Bonner's left as well, which is obviously, and this is no disrespect to the guy still there, but two of their better midfielders, I would say. Again, Vale Leaving, it's seen what they do the rest of the season if there is much to fight for. But yeah, East Kilbride definitely on their way to another title and potentially a promotion. Yeah,
and just to reaffirm the point, by my maths, it may well be wrong because it's totally off the top of my head. I make it 3 wins for East Kilbride to win the title.
I think you're right, yeah.
Because they're 8 points ahead, they've still got a game in hand. The most that either BSC or Celtic can put on the board would be 61 by my reckoning. So that basically means East Kilbride just need 3 wins to seal the deal.
Yep. Just before we get into next week, mate, Dalbeattie did play a game on Saturday. It wasn't in the Lowland League, it was in the South of Scotland Challenge Cup, and they got beat 4-2 off Lochar. So a bit of a shock, to be honest. I think Dalbeattie had won the competition the last 2 years. It's a shock, but it kind of allows them to focus on the league, make sure that they don't, the distance isn't closed between them and Whitehill, basically. But yeah, probably disappointing from the lads not to still be in a cup and have something to look forward to come the end of the season.
Yeah, it's one of those cloud with a silver lining type situations, because it does allow them to just put all their focus on the league and maintaining their place. And well, technically they could still be in danger where they're sitting, so they ideally want to get up to 13th position. But you'd think that a win in the cup like that would have been good momentum for them in the league, so that's the other flip side of looking at it. And there's no easy games, obviously, when you get to this level of football and below, because the gaps between teams shrink the further down the levels you get. I still think it was a bit of a surprise though that Lockhart went and took that, so fair play to them.
Agreed.
And with the way football is just now in this country, with the east of Scotland and the south of Scotland and all the teams that have kind of jumped in this season, and the gap's ever shrinking, and it makes things really, really interesting for all these cups and, well, for the next few years as we get some changeover in the leagues as well, because naturally teams are going to find their level that haven't been in the pyramid up till this point. The reason I mention the south of Scotland as well as the east, you've got the likes of Bonnet and Thistle that have came in and have done really, really well, basically from scratch. Mm-hmm. So I know that it's a really established youth system, but the seniors, it's not just east of Scotland that have got the junior teams coming over and join the pyramid. The south are still open for business as well. So I think a lot of people forget the south have still got a right good chance of getting someone up to the Lowland League, and they deserve to be recognised with it as well.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think, I agreed. I think when we mention obviously East of Scotland, we do throw in South of Scotland too, but I think it's just maybe a regional thing. For like me, obviously I'm more aware of East of Scotland than the likes of some of the South of Scotland teams, like Lochmaben, for example. Obviously, old reference there, but it's quite right though. I mean, it's 2 cup games pretty much, and quite rightly, South of Scotland South of Scotland team has every right to perhaps go out and beat on their day could beat an East of Scotland team over 2 legs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you look at the table just now, I've just got it up to have a quick glance at it, given that the rules still, we'll obviously see how it works with the one less team in the Lowland this season. But it's currently the Stranraer reserves that are top of it, but Bonnyton are right there, and so are Lochar. So it maybe isn't that much a shock that, given that they're right up in the top 3-4, they've won 13 games, they've only lost 1 game in the league all season, Lochar Thistle. Given that they've got that kind of run of form behind them, Dalbeattie obviously on the flip side have got a really tough campaign and so far behind them. It's maybe less surprising than initially we thought it was.
Absolutely, and I noticed they're actually perhaps looking to build as well, because I noticed they signed Gretna's Ellis Monaghan as well, so it looks like they're looking to strengthen as well, so interesting. We'll get into next week, mate. We do have a Wednesday fixture. It's Dalbeattie Star versus Edinsport Academy. Dalbeattie will need to go out and try and win that, I think, and similar to Edinsport, who've obviously, we've mentioned, they've brought in a few players. They'll be looking to, like many teams, just trying to get as high as possible come the end of the season.
I mean, we were talking about East Kilbride needing 3 wins to basically seal the deal. Dalbeattie are in a position where a couple of wins for them should seal it as well.
Yep.
In terms of avoiding bottom, because with the run of games Whitehill have got and the recent score lines they've been getting, it's really hard to see them picking up wins in terms of multiple wins. Mm-hmm. So if Star can find a way to win a game or 2 here, they might well just seal their safety. Obviously, notwithstanding other things that can happen that are out with their control. But obviously they'd be delighted if they can get into that game fresh off of the disappointment in the Cup and take the points against Edgesport and try and catch them cold, because that would, it would take a lot of the pressure off them and it would pile it all on welfare, and that's basically the position they'd want to be in. They wouldn't want to be looking over their shoulders and struggling, put it that way.
Game of the week for me, East Kilbride versus Civil Service Strollers. Civil Service Strollers, the only team to beat East Kilbride this season in the league. I don't know if they can do it again, especially at K Park, but I tell you what, it's going to be a really good fixture. I think both teams in cracking form. I think Civil will fancy their chances, against Kilby, even at K Park, but Kilby...
Yeah.
We'll see what they do. Really, potential champions. It's definitely game of the week for me, I think.
They've earned the right to fancy their chances. Like you say, they've they're the only team in the league that have actually got the better East Kilbride this season. And this will be a really, really important game for both sides, because if Strollers do go and do the double over them, what better marker is there to put down for next season than, well, they're going to win the league and look what we've done to them.
Yep.
You know? Whereas on the flip side, if Kilby can do the business and get the 3 points, you'd have to say, well, that's that. They're just relentless about it. And whoever it is that's going to be in the Highland League playing against them, most likely Cove Rangers, will be very much taking notice of it. That they just continually win when they need to win, and no one can really put too much pressure on. So I agree with you, mate. It's absolutely game of the week for me.
Good. We usually do agree, I think, so most of the time. East Stirlingshire versus Dalbeattie Star. East Stirlingshire on a fantastic run of games at the moment, as we mentioned earlier, and Dalbeattie Star, again, they need to start picking up wins. I think it's going to be really difficult, especially at Falkirk Stadium, though, with Shire on a really decent run of form. But the points have to come somewhere for Dalbeattie and Whitehill, and probably the majority of teams, bottom maybe even 5. But I think Shire are probably going to run out winners there.
You'd expect Shire to be the heavy favourites there. A lot will depend on what happens midweek to Dalbeattie as well.
Yep. Edinburgh Uni versus BSC Glasgow. Obviously, again, Edinburgh Uni not on the best of runs, and opposite BSC are on the. I don't know if there's going to be a shock in this one. I'm going to put my name out and say there's going to be a shock in this one. I think Edinburgh will get. I just maybe to see what will happen, but I think I'm going to say Edinburgh Uni are going to get something out of that game.
Okay, I'm actually going to do my best to get along to that game because I've not seen a BSC game in a wee while now. So if I do make it along, I'm looking forward to some baked treats as well, and hopefully 3 points to take home.
I'm going to say. No, I was going to say I'm going to go with a Uni win then, but I was like, we'll no.
But the other thing, I'm looking forward to seeing Edinburgh. I've not had a chance to properly watch them this season, and given that they've had a really decent campaign up to now, obviously the results haven't been fantastic recently, but they've done their business early, and we said that at the time that they were making it a lot easier for themselves later on. I'm looking forward to seeing how they play, and obviously if Queevelainen and Jakob and so on are playing, getting a proper idea how good they are in person.
Yep. When I saw them at East Perthmale, I think it was in December, I was really impressed by them. I think it's just a mix of being just a young team, maybe not being as experienced compared to other teams, but they're certainly a good outfit. It's just they've maybe just not had the run recently, really.
Yeah.
And they're up against a strong BSC Glasgow team. We know what they can do, but I'm going to put my neck out and say that they're going to get a result, just to give them a wee bit of hope, maybe. Edisport Academy versus Spartans. That's certainly an interesting one, considering again it depends on how the Dalbeattie game goes, but Edisport kind of new style Edisport. But it was funny how you mentioned Ross McNeil, because they loaned him out to Edisport, and if you look at the fixtures, what was it, Kelty, BSC, and then obviously Dalbeattie, then Spartans. So that's like pretty much all of Kilby's rivals, I think, apart from maybe Civil Service. So very smart business by Kilby there. Maybe there was something to that loan deal, maybe.
Makes a ton of sense, doesn't it, when you look at it like that?
It's going to be an interesting game, I think. But Spartans, I think it could be a close game, actually. I'd probably...
absolutely.
Sorry, mate. I'd probably expect Spartans maybe to get a result, though.
I think Spartans would be the more likely there, but these are the kind of games they have been drawn this season. So Edgesport will fancy their chances of getting something out of that.
Gallifreydine Rovers versus Kelty Hearts. I'll be at the Nitherdale for the first time ever. It's probably the away day that I've been looking forward to all season. Sorry for the other clubs, but I just can't wait to get to the Netherdale. I'm gutted the stands not open. I've seen Gallo obviously already this season, but I'm just really looking forward to it. It's one of them stadiums that again, I'm gutted it's not open as such, but you have to see it, sort of thing. In terms of the game, a tough one, but having obviously seen a lot of Kelty recently, I think Kelty will probably be as solid as ever, and I think they'll probably fancy getting the win there.
Yeah, you'd imagine that they'll fancy it, but it's not an easy place to go, is it? And nope. Fairydean Rovers, and that they'll fancy their chances of doing something there again. So I'll keep an eye on that one with interest, just to see how it goes, especially if Gala get the first goal, then all bets are off.
Yep. University of Stirling versus Cumbernauld Colts. University of Stirling obviously picked up that win against Whitehill. Colts, again, they're kind of slipping away from top four. That's quite an interesting game. Hard to predict the winner for myself, though.
Yeah, it's a really tough one to predict, isn't it, now that you kind of bring it up. I think if I was forced to go with one side, I would go with the Uni. Just because they've got that win under their belts and they've got a couple of games unbeaten. Having said that, though, obviously we've mentioned that Cumbernauld will really want to kind of disprove this notion that they fall away at the end of the season. Yep. So it's two teams that play decent football. So if you're in the area, absolutely get along and watch it, because it'll be entertaining. It's just a really, really tough game to predict. Definitely.
And certainly the last game, Whitehill Welfare versus Vale of Leven, we touched on it, but absolutely massive for Whitehill. Well, in fact, both teams, I would say.
Yeah.
But mainly for Whitehill. I think this is a game that will define their season. If they don't get a result here, I think it's you don't want to say it's all doom and gloom, but I think it's going to be very, very tough.
Absolutely, yeah.
For the remaining fixture.
It's now or never. It's now or never for them. Simple as that.
Again, we talked about the miss that Scott Lucas was against University of Stirling. Hopefully he'll be back for this game and give them a wee bit of leadership on the park. And because I think it's, in fairness, I think that we have to mention the fact, and we have previously, that Whitehill are playing a lot of the younger players now this season, and I think they're going with them, which is brave, but it's tough for the younger guys, especially in a relegation battle, and they do need people like Scott Lucas to give them that wee bit of leadership. Kevin Keane as well. Some of the guys just to pull them through, and it's a lot of pressure on the team. But I think this is a fixture they'll look at, and hopefully for them they'll look out and try and get the win. I think. Yeah,
we said earlier on it's a cup final, and I think that's the best way to sum it up.
Yep.
They'll go into this thinking we need to win this, and if they don't, there will be a bit of malaise about the place. But it was always going to come at this point with the form they were in and the way they started the season. They're kind of fortunate in a way that other teams are still untouched. But they need to go and do the business now or never, because you'd have to say with other games they've got coming up, it's really, the window's closing, and if they don't do it now, they'll probably not do it full stop.
Do you want to do plugs?
Yeah, why not? It's been a while, so maybe a bit rusty.
You missed your plug time.
Keep it nice and simple. You'll find me on Twitter at Mozza Plays, 2 Z's. You'll pretty much find me at Mozza Plays wherever online. How about your good self?
At Rampant FM on Twitter, and you can also find us at Official Catch Up on Twitter as well. We don't tend to use Facebook. Do you use Facebook, Mozza? I don't know.
I very, very rarely use it, to be honest.
Twitter's just generally the place, really.
Twitter's generally the place, because it's much easier to find out what's going on in football on Twitter as well. So it means you get to skip past the pictures of people you don't really care about anymore.
It's a good way of describing it, yeah. So that's pretty much the end of the episode, mate. It's good to have you back, obviously. It's been a while. Missed you.
Don't try to sound too emotional there. No, joking aside, it's good to be back and get talking shop again about it. I have missed it, so as long as the voice stays true, we'll be back to normal from this point onwards.
Brilliant. Obviously, we want to thank everyone that listens, and the clubs, the players, the manager, everyone that sort of takes an interest in the Lowland League. And just a bit of news, actually. We someone had mentioned a comment about the interviews. We tend to have just trusted, like I usually do the interviews with Kelty, obviously, but we tend to have just a few people doing. Providing us with interviews, which we obviously appreciate. If you want to, if there's someone that goes to the games that wants to provide us interviews for any of the clubs that we're maybe missing that want to be highlighted, we're more than willing to help you guys out. If there's someone that does that sort of thing. I mean, I just record them with a voice recorder on my phone, so it's easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely, and I would even go further than that. So it's not just more than willing. We'd be delighted if any of the clubs out there thought, do you know, we'd quite like to get our managers' views on the podcast as well. Give us a shout on the Twitter account. That's the easiest way to get us. Fire us a message, or one of our individual Twitters. You can fire us a message there as well. Mine are open certainly to anyone to message. And let us know, and we'll get something sorted, because for everyone that's already done it up to this point, the likes of David Chandler, Stirling Union, and so on, we always give them a thank you, and we truly mean it every week. But if you want to get your club better represented in terms of people giving their views, and not just the two of us talking shop on it, let us know, and we'll make sure we do it for you.
Absolutely, and I know that some clubs would like that, but maybe they don't have the person to do it or that, and we obviously understand that. But if there is someone that does go to the games a lot and maybe wants to do that, we can speak to the clubs for you and say, right, there is a guy or a girl in that case, and we can help you out if you want to help us out, sort of thing. We obviously want to thank George Fraser and Michael Park for their continuous support, the league and everyone else. And we'll see you again next week.
Catch you then.